Hey, hello
Hi,
from
Martin.
Michigan. Hey,
Hello,
Matt.
everybody. Hi, everybody that's tuning in. It's great to see you again.
Absolutely. Let us know in the chat box where you're all tuning in from. We would love
Love to
to
see that.
know.
Yeah. And you'll notice that there's something new that you saw. You probably saw it if you were in the waiting room, and also it's posted in the chat there. There's something, a handout that we have for you guys. It's going to be integral throughout this presentation. We'll get to it kind of towards the end, but it's a whole systems chart of the entire NovaFlex support system. So if you wanted to grab that now, just go over to where it says handouts. You'll see a little red dot. You can grab a copy there. But otherwise, we will be referring to it. Thank you all for coming. Hey, Martin, it's been a while. How you been?
Absolutely. Oh, I'm great. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing great.
You,
Just
you, you told me that you're packing right now because you're leaving for Utah tomorrow.
I am bright and
Well,
early. Yeah, I'm headed
well
out to
then,
Canal.
thanks for the time. Thanks for your time to host this webinar together with
It's
myself.
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's I got to put my thoughts together. It's really important when you're packing to figure out what you need to bring because I have a history of bringing too much, and I'm trying to remedy that. And that's at the heart of the discussion we're having today. So
I know this habit. I,
yeah,
I'm I'm the same for myself when
yeah, yeah,
I'm on a travel. So well, but
yeah.
anyways, I'm looking forward to hearing from you and to learn from you and to get some new insights on our products.
Oh, great. This is all based in fact and real usage. So
Right.
yeah. Well, thanks, Martin. No, so everybody, Martin's here today as usual. Um, I'm going to be presenting a whole bunch of things that I've done and how I've configured my system to go with that. If you have questions, ask them anytime in the chat or using the Q&A thing on the right hand side. Martin's here to help you walk through technical questions while I give the presentation, and at the end we're going to have a Q&A. We'll go over anything you want to go over at that point.
Awesome.
Oh, all right. You feel like jumping right in?
Exactly. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So thank you for coming, folks. My name is Matt Hill. I'm from National Parks at Night. I do a lot of work with NovaFlex because I love it. And what this is about is, let's say I'm about 3 years into my NovaFlex journey now, and I wanted to present you with what I've really embraced, which is choosing flexibility. This entire TrioPod system really helps me be creative. And what does that mean, right? Like, I've heard a bunch of people say this on and off. What is the big deal? I have a tripod. Why should I even consider this? Well, because a tripod often isn't a system. A tripod is a single solution built for a single result or a single scenario, right? Or a general scenario. And once you have that, it's the height that it is. And yeah, you can switch out the head. Sometimes you can switch out the column or no column, but you're pretty much locked into that. And many tripod manufacturers allow you to remove one leg and use it as a monopod, but I don't think that goes far enough. But we're going to get into more details about that. What I really like to point out is this. Imagine that you got a flat tire in the middle of nowhere and you're going fast and you went out of control. That would be the result of perhaps either bad luck or perhaps choosing tires that were inferior, not up to the task that you gave it, right? Your mattress is really bad and you can't sleep. Perhaps you didn't invest enough in a mattress that meets your needs, maybe isn't firm enough, right? Your shoes are such a bad fit that your feet cramp. I did that for years. I bought cheap shoes because they were cheap. Now I invest in shoes that are focused on support, right? And knowing that I'll be out for 8 or 14 hours on my feet, I have to invest in that to make sure that everything above the shoes works well. Same thing goes for a tripod. I often hop on a plane like I am tomorrow, go 4,000 miles, drive 3 to 5 hours, and then I wait until the middle of the night to take a picture. If my support gear doesn't do the job that I want it to do, it was a poor choice and a poor investment. So this is really important to me. Don't ignore your camera support. it's often overlooked because you might invest in an expensive lens, an expensive body, and then all the accessories. You're like, I really don't want to spend a lot more after this because let's just get a tripod. Like, let's just get out of the way, check the box. You may have regrets. Some of us have done that. I certainly have done it. I'm probably on my 11th tripod in my life, right? So let's talk about scenarios, right? Here's a scenario where I was all the way up in North Dakota at Theodore Roosevelt National Park, where I'll be again this year on a workshop. And just being that far away from civilization, I have to be able to count on my gear, right? Um, or down in the islands, And again, same scenario. Um, when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you need to make the pictures work, you got to count on your gear. This is back to North Dakota, the north unit of Theodore Roosevelt National Park with the cannonball concretions and the terrible graffiti on them. And then, of course, macro work, which we've talked about a lot on this webinar channel. All of these are support scenarios where I used NOVOFLEX, and it got me through what I needed to do, and I configured them differently. So let's kick it off, and let's start with some lightweight combinations. And I want to show you something that I haven't talked about yet. This is a false picture. This is me pre-visualizing something that I want to do. This I made on Sunday. My wife and I hiked up here. This is in the Catskills, and this is the daytime picture. And this is me just converting it into a composition that could be, based on the direction, what it could look like at night, because I wanted to see whether it's worth spending the night on this ledge. So to get up there, it was a 3.5, 4-hour hike round trip. And there's 1,500 feet of elevation. And when you're doing a hike of that length, I carry the water for the two of us, so I'm carrying 2 liters of water. I have a Nikon Z6 and a 24-70, which is pretty heavy. So what I wanted to do was to also travel as light as possible. So what I used was hiking poles. Now, many of us use hiking poles as a matter of fact, right? The beautiful thing that I've started doing is using the NOVOFLEX hiking poles, which you can take the top off, and then you'll see there is a 1/4-20 on the end here, and I can show you here. There's a 1/4-20 on the end of this, and this now screws into another tripod. So this whole system is something that NOVOFLEX offers, and the base of this is called the basic pod. It is supremely small, and I gotta say, these walking sticks are superb quality. They're Compradels, and they also fold up, by the way. So you can go from a full-length one to this just folding up without having the pieces come together. They're like camping poles where they stick together like this. Really great hand grips. They're worth every penny. And then they pair together with the basic pod, which is this. This is a tripod spider. So you take those 2 hiking sticks and you then pair them up with one more leg that is shorter and lighter. And the whole package is super tiny, super tiny. And I enjoyed it. And this is what it is. This is how the sticks, laid out while we're up there. And then when you take the tops off, and then there is the other leg with the basic pod, and I added in a ball head and a quick release plate because I love quick release holders. I don't like screwing cameras down onto ball heads. So all together, when it's assembled, it looks like that. And the ball head is definitely rated to handle the lens and body weight, as is the quick release plate. And this, because the legs don't move, is extremely rigid. And I'll just back off and show you what it looks like. So you could individually get all of these things separately. You could get, like I did, because I already have a bunch of NOVOFLEX things, get the pair of 2 walking sticks plus 1, the Q leg 2253, the basic pod and the ball 30, and the Q base 2. And that equals the whole set that I used right there. And it fits so nicely into the backpack, along with all the water and the snacks. And you don't feel like you're carrying a lot. Here's another example. I was out in the Mojave. I just quickly grabbed this shot. We were capturing sunset, and this is just the BTS of it set up behind the scenes. I had the walking sticks with me, and I had that other little piece. It was really carry. I could actually just carry it on my belt. It didn't have to be in a backpack. And again, it was just a pair of walking sticks, one tripod leg, because you don't need to buy 3, the basic pod, and the ball 30. Super, super happy with having a lightweight hiking solution for when it just matters. Every ounce matters. The other thing that you can do is, if you already have a tripod kit, let's say the TrioPod M is offered in a kit, which you see on the right here, the Trio M Walk-3 kit. This comes with both of the walking sticks, the Q-Leg 2844. It comes with mini tripod legs also, which means you can do macro work with this also. Different baskets for the walking sticks. And you have a TrioPod M Spider. You can just purchase the basic pod Spider. In addition to that, you can just get this in addition to that, and that'll work out, right? So you can do that and add a ball 30 or whatever you have, or a quick release on top of that. And then you can go from having a larger tripod kit to an even smaller tripod kit if you didn't want to use the TrioPod M Spider. If you did want to use a TrioPod M, you're all set. You've got a kit ready to go. There are also walking stick kits available straight out of the box that have the basic pod in them as the Spider, if you want to save every ounce possible. And they're listed here, the BPC 2253W and the BPC 2844W. All of these are going to be listed in the description when we're done, and in the email that you get. So if you're watching this as a video, look below in the description. If you're attending this as a webinar, you're going to get it in an email as a follow-up. I highly recommend looking into this if you go hiking and you want to save weight. It is a lifesaver. Let's jump into talking about some mid-weight combinations. This I made while we were on our Mojave workshop a little over a month ago. This is the northern reaches of the Mojave. Found some great sand dunes, and this was a focus stack. There was no way I could get this depth of field in one shot. I didn't have a tilt shift lens. All I had was my Nikon with me. So here's the VTS of it. Very compact tripod with just the Spider. And this is a new tripod Spider for me. I got it specifically because I wanted to go even more compact. And I'll talk about what it is in a second. But you'll see it's very low to the ground because it doesn't have an additional ball head on it. And here's a side view of it. So I've got the mini tripod legs. I've got a leveling ball built in, and then a quick release plate. And that kept me really, really close to the ground. And that's exactly what I wanted. We'll go back to the picture here, because I wanted to have these waves of sand that are covered and creating shadow and highlights during moonrise. And it's hard to see because the moon was pretty bright, but there's star trails in Polaris at the top of the frame. So mini tripod legs, I just pulled the big legs off and put the mini legs on, tilted forward aggressively, and then did my focus stack. And all that was I own the TrioPod M. So I already had the legs for my TrioPod M. I already had the mini legs also that came with that kit. So what I did was I got just the Spider. I got just the Trio Bell. So the Trio Balance is right here. I'll give you a little close up. This is what I mean, is you can just replace the Spider, swap out the legs, and put a quick release on top. And this is the Q mount that's on top. So all I had to do was pop this in my bag, and I knew that I could have one tripod, which is my TrioPod M, right? which is fully decked out with the long legs. And then I could have this one with the mini legs separately. So I really have 2 tripods just by buying one additional spider. And that's where the flexibility really starts to come in. So this helped me out a lot, and it's super compact. And this is a new getup for me that I really love, because with the TrioPod M, I have to add a balance on top of it when I want to do panos. But the Trio Bal is the base for most of my panos now. And other shots like this where I just keep it compact. Found an old bed frame out in the desert and took a lot of exposures of it. And this one's pretty easy. This is my TrioPod M with the legs that came with it. Or you can get it separately. You can say, I just want to buy the spider and get the legs separately. And then the same ball head and quick release that I had from the kit that I was using for hiking, which is this guy, the Ball 30 and the Cubase 2. These are what I just put on top of that, and it was plenty good enough to hold it. Plenty good. So that was really helpful. So again, just being able to mix and match the things that I want helps a lot. Here's another shot from the Mojave this year. This one, pretty standard, you know, this is about face height, you know, and it was really easy to set up. There's the BTS of it. I knew that I was going to be shooting a long time, so I put a power pack on it. And I also had a dew heater because the temperature was changing. So in that power pack, I was both charging the camera battery and powering the dew heater that was around the lens. However, the tripod was just really compact. And the best part is I just took the TrioPod M spider off of the tall legs that I have and swapped it with the Trio Bal and the Q mount. And it was nice and compact. I didn't have to worry because I wasn't doing, and I find this is really interesting, and a lot of the astro landscape work that I do, I don't have a lot of angles where I need to use a ball head. Less and less, I'm finding. I'm mostly level or slightly tilted down or slightly tilted up. And it's working out that having a head that has the balancing just built in is enough movement for me, whether I'm horizontal with the camera or vertical on the L bracket. And it's working out really well for me. So that was my tried and true TrioPod M kit where I just swapped the legs into the Trio Bal. You can also get the Trio Bal as its own kit. So this, for example, this is the 2840. And again, all these legs, we'll talk about later, can be purchased in carbon fiber or aluminum, depending on what you want to spend and or your needs are, right? So if I were just starting out and I knew the things that I know now, I think I'd be tempted to get a Trio Bal and a Q mount and pretty much be done with it. For maybe 80% of the work that I do for Astro Landscape, this is perfect. Really, really happy with this combination now. The other thing you can do is buy that kit, the Trio Bal C2840, and if you wanted to get another spider, get the TrioPod M base, where you can use the center column or not use the center column and have the Q mount, and then you have the flexibility, so you can go either way with this. Start with the Trio Bal kit or start with the TrioPod M kit. Here's another shot. This one's from Yosemite end of last year. Getting an unlikely late October Milky Way pano. And this one is simply set up with, and you'll see the difference here. This is the TrioPod M base with the tall carbon fiber legs. And then I had to put the MBAL 20 on top of that. And then on top of that is my pano kit, the VR System Slim. So TrioPod M is there, and then the balancing, because it's a pano, you put on top of that. So you can see this is a situation where that totally works. But if you know that you're going to be leveling out most of the time, you might as well consider a Trio Bal spider as a regular part of your kit. It does add a little bit of weight, but if you're gonna put a balancing half ball anyway, you're gonna carry that weight no matter what you do. Excuse me. So here we are. We were talking about that before. the TrioPod M version of what I'm doing there, or the Trio Bal, where I would go straight from this kit to putting a Cubase 2 on top of it. And then I'd use the quick release plate that comes with the VR System Slim on the bottom of that and put it into the Cubase 2 so I can take it on and off quickly. It's pretty exciting stuff for me, knowing that I can now kit out what I need to do based on what I anticipate doing, or setting goals, saying these are the things I'm going to do, gives me a lot of confidence instead of looking at a stack of tripods and saying, are you tall enough or are you short enough? I can attack the things that I want to attack with the tools that I need. Moving on. All right, we'll jump into the heavy duty stuff. So this is a tracked and stacked shot of the moon that I did about a week ago. It is done with a telescope, and that's really fun, right? So had a lot of fun shooting that. I shot it right outside my front door. So this is just some 2 BTS shots of it. And anytime you're doing something with ultra long lenses or with tracking, I say go straight to the Pro 75, the TrioPod Pro 75. I've got the beefiest legs I own on that. I have the big spider. And then above that, you can put a balancing ball, which I have. I'm going to show you that right now. So this is my Pro 75 spider, and it has the Magic Balance M-Bal Pro 75 in it. So inside of the spider, you've got your balance built right in. And if you look at it from the side, it's inserted from the side. And this is much heavier than, let's say, the TrioPod M, right? So if I had these, it's kind of about the same size, right? When you have the top of that. If I didn't want to have a balance in this, I could swap it out for the flat plate that comes with it. And now if we go all the way down, we say, there's the Trio Bal, right? So this one has the balance built in. You can see the size of the spider. There's a big difference in those. And then all the way down to the basic pod, you can see that there's differences in those, right? The sizes are different. So this is the beefiest thing. And it will eat a lot of vibration, and it'll hold up to very heavy things, such as this layout where you have tripod, balancing, and then a quick release. And then I had the Benro Polaris tracker on there. And then I put a telescope that's 1,250 millimeters on that, a catadioptric telescope. And then I had to track the moon. And this shot that you saw is not cropped. This is the actual shot. And I shot, I think, 12 shots in a row. And then with post-processing, I was able to align them and sharpen them. And I got this image after post-processing. So it's a pretty simple setup. This is the TrioPod Pro, the Trio Pro C3940 kit. Beefy, 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 with the M-Bal Pro 75 and the Cubase 2. And you can put any tracker that you want on top of that, and you'll be confident that it's going to be steady, and you won't have to worry about the tripod failing. After that, it's whether the tracker has any mechanical failures or not, which often they do. So here's another example of using a telescope as an optic. This is Olana, a famous landmark across the river from me. And to shoot this picture, looks like it's winter. Yes, that's the frozen Hudson River there. I used the Pro 75, and I definitely needed to have fine motor control over this. So I put my classic ball 5 on top of the M-Bal 75. And then I was able to fine position that in order to catch this moonrise image behind the tree that's right next to Frederick Church's Olana. So that worked out pretty good. It was steady as a rock. And then that moon scooted up on out of there because it moves pretty fast when you're at 1250 millimeters. So this was pretty simple. The TrioPod Pro 75 and then the M-Bal Pro 75. And I added the classic ball 5 too. And I used the Q-Mount X on top of that because sometimes you just you want that extra gripping power, and I use very long quick release plates on some of the optics that I have so that I can position them and balance them. In this case, the telescope. Here's a picture that I didn't show from the last macro challenge with Christian because I thought, it's funny, but it's rather, I don't know, it wasn't up to the rest of the other pictures. I do like it because it looks like an owl, but this is all ferrous objects and magnetism. So these are magnets and steel shavings. So the setup on this one definitely needed a Pro 75, and then even though I have an MBAL 20 on top of it, this is actually, no, this is not the Pro 75. This is my TrioPod M. So you have a TrioPod M with an MBAL, and then I had the Magic Ball on top of that, and then all of the macro gear above that. But it was nice and steady, and it allowed me to configure it to take this picture, which is playful. And I shot it on top of a piece of glass, so it would have some depth behind it. And there's this textured piece of paper behind it, so there's some nice play on the depth of field there. But again, these are all discrete, different pieces of things that I put together over time. And I'll just show you this with my Magic Ball. I put the MB grip on, which is the long-handled grip. This helps me really lock it down when I want to lock things down. This is the handle that normally comes with it, which is perfectly adequate for a lot of things. But when I'm wearing gloves and other stuff outside, I really like being able to hold on to this to move things around and to lock it down real tight. So that's a good accessory if you're considering getting a Magic Ball, to consider that. Moving on, another one from the macro challenge. In macro, you really need supreme stability because you're moving minutely over possibly hundreds of frames. So in this case, I really love using the short legs for this, and we'll switch over to the camera here. The short legs are this. These are included in many kits. You can get them separately as one or a set of 3, and they're super strong. And they even have little pilot holes in here that you can put a smaller pin through and use it to lock it down if you really need that. But these just really fit into my favorite tabletop setup here, is to put these in the Pro 75, and then you have on a bench like I have here, you have a really, really sturdy set of equipment that allows you to get up above things, but not too far, so you can be on this, but super steady. And I think that this works out really great for a lot of situations. This is my favorite way to do macro, and you'll see that one of the legs is actually coming off of the side, and we'll see if that happens here. There we go. I could show it. So in this case, I've also found that if you really, really want to have it even steadier, you can use the ground in addition to that. So in this case, if I took this rear one off and instead, I have a lot of objects on the table here, I put the full-size tripod leg on the back here, I can then take this, which is used to being like a biggest, beefiest tripod. We can then say, all right, well, I want this to be a macro tripod. And now this is here, and you could do all of your macro, and then you just sandbag the other end of it over there. You'll see that on the slides here. You can see that I've got a sandbag going on down here. Boop. Yep. And that's good. So yeah, this is a TrioPod kit, which comes with the 2 mini legs, the balance, the classic ball 5, and the Q-mount X, and then the macro objects that I have there, which we've discussed a lot on this channel. Pretty simple, a cast LQ and a cast fine for the finer motor control. Now, whoo, that's a lot of ground to cover, right? Let's talk about the system itself. So you might have already seen in the handouts over on the side, there's the tripod systems chart that is available for everyone to download. You'll also get a link to it in the email, or if you're watching this on replay, you'll see it in the description. Let's sort of walk through what this is and how to read it. So let me change the color on my drawing here a little bit. So what I'd suggest is you start in the middle. Choose your spider. And we talked about almost every spider here, right? You've got your basic pod, which is the small one. You've got right above that, you've got the basic ball, which I've used. I use that a lot for tabletop support for lights. You've got the TrioPod, and you've got the Trio Balance next to that. And then my almost everyday, which is the TrioPod M, but now that's competing with, the Trio Balance. So I really love both of those. And then your biggest is the TrioPod M, right? But then down here, you see below those spiders, you have all of these legs. And you'll see that there's versions of these. And when you download this PDF, you'll be able to zoom in on this a little bit and see that there's different versions of how many sections they have. Let me just draw that one over, how many sections they have, right? Some are 2 or 3 or 4 section or 5 section, right? So you could see that, and there's also versions of carbon fiber and also aluminum. Then there's the walking sticks that we talked about here, right? And then itty bitty legs too. And there's also these other legs. So there's absolutely no other manufacturer in the world that gives you this opportunity to say, I'm going to kit out my support to what I need to do. And we didn't even talk about the Pro 75, how there is a center column that you can use. There's also one for the TrioPod M. And then everything above that, a lot of us are familiar with ball heads, right? There are a variety of different ball heads from NOVOFLEX. And these are the lighter weight ones over here. And then here's the really heavy duty ones over here. And then I've spent a lot of time with the quick release systems lately. I think I own one of every single one of them, but the Cubase 2 has been my favorite lately. But this is a really good one to have around, the mini one. So this one is the Q-Mount Mini. That one is a good one to have just on hand because it got me out of a lot of sticky situations. So be sure to download this, go over to the handouts. We'll just take a quick overview again. You can see the differences here, right, of the different base units, going through all of the sizes. The smallest one is 45 millimeters in diameter, and then the next grouping are 60 millimeters in diameter. If you wanted to match these up to the size of the bottom of your ball heads or whatever you're going to put on top of it, right? And then the TrioPod M is 80 millimeters, and the Pro 75 is 100 millimeters in diameter. Here's all the leg options that you have, and you'll see if you wanted to, and I want to just make a point right here. If you've ever had a tripod break, the first thing to break is usually the legs, right? If a standard tripod breaks, you have to send the whole thing back in. If, heaven forbid, you happen to damage one of the legs that you have, you can unscrew it and send that one leg in, or simply buy a replacement for this one leg. So there's a huge advantage to that. And chances are, if you're a NOVOFLEX system user, you already have other legs that you have around, so you can just keep going, pull another leg out of your backpack or whatever, and keep going. It helps a lot. And my new favorite darling are the tripod walking sticks. These things are extraordinary. If you're a hiker, you're going to want to check these out. They're really, really wonderful. The basic pod is what I pair with the walking sticks. It's also, as illustrated here, great for tabletop photography. You can use it for macro work. You can use it for holding lights in the field. And it takes up so little space and so little weight in your bag. It's an easy thing as an add-on when you're purchasing a tripod kit, because you're going to get, chances are with tripod kits, you're going to get 3 of those mini legs. You might as well get one of these to go with it, so you have a second tripod right off the bat. The TrioPod and the Trio Balance are extraordinary. I'm very fond of the Trio Balance right now because of all of the astro landscape work that I do. That's about all the tilt that I need. Makes me very happy. TrioPod M, a wider spider means it's even more stable than the TrioPod and the TrioPod Balance. So this one also has a rather secure center column. It is the kit that I have is already at eye level for me, and this puts it above eye level when I use the center column. And the TrioPod Pro 75, you guys have seen me gush about this enough to know that when you need it to be stable, this is the best option, period. And there are also extensions that you can use when you need it to be even taller. You can add that between the legs and the spider. Other examples of me using the TrioPod Pro 75 from small to large, you can see I've used it with an 11 millimeter lens on the side of some sandstone. I've used 3 cameras at the same time with a quick release crossbar and mounting all this stuff. I've used it inverted to do macro work. And this is with the center column. You can see the center column has mounts at both the top and the bottom. So you can put 2 heads on simultaneously should you want to. And on the right, you see me using a star tracker and up high with a long lens. Whew, coming in for a landing here. All right, so I'm just going to recap because there's a lot of things that I covered, and I'm looking forward to questions. But essentially, it's this. If you've bought a tripod and you've been disappointed because it didn't quite do everything you wanted, you should consider a system. This includes with NOVOFLEX, obviously. The flexibility to choose the spiders and the legs to match the situation that you want. The compatibility of those components together is really, really important, making sure they just all fit. And we're talking about, and I didn't stress this yet, this is German engineering and German manufacturing. It is very precise. Everything fits so neatly together. It's like they belong together, and that's the care that they put into not only designing it, but manufacturing everything that they do. When you buy NOVOFLEX, you're really buying it for life. This is something that, should you have progenitors or people that come after you, you could hand it down. And we did talk about this. If you break a leg, you can replace it yourself, right? Things happen. And I didn't talk about this yet, but I have, this will be the second trip I've done this for. I'm starting to break down my tripod. Instead of having it hang on the side of my pack, I'm taking components and putting it inside. So all of my second and third tripod setup just broken down and inside my bag. And perhaps I'll take the legs and I'll just put the legs inside of my suitcase, and I'll have these heads, inside of my carry-on bag where the weight matters a little bit less. It all works out for me. I think it's great. Yep. So now it's time for Q&A. Hey, Martin, has anybody asked a question, or is it like my breathless presentation just blowing them away?
Nothing in the Q&A section so far, but I mean, your presentation was exhaustive. You pretty much covered the entire system. You literally plunged into the system and shed some light on even the smallest components.
I forgot to show the basic ball.
Yeah.
But I have it.
That is true, but we had it in the systems chart already, so
Yes.
So you mentioned it at least.
Yeah. Well, if nobody has questions right now, no big deal. We know that webinars run on a delay, probably about 30 seconds, and it takes time to write your questions. In the meantime, Martin, I'll ask you a question. Did I forget anything?
Well, you spoke about all the spiders, starting with the basic pod and ending with the TrioPod Pro. We mentioned all the legs. You mentioned the accessories. Yes, we could tell people that each and every one of the legs can be used as a monopod as well. Just adding the little QP mono adapter, the black
That's
one,
a great point.
that's listed under accessories.
You know what? And I'll even add something onto that. Sometimes I have to put an LED light out to do light painting, and I boom it out to have an extra leg on hand, I can just screw the LED light into the end of the leg and use it as a boom.
Exactly. So, and for all the cinematographers out there, there's even a 75 millimeter bowl adapter for the Pro 75. So if you happen to have one of those video heads with a half bowl underneath, just swap the plate and swap it for the bowl adapter. So we got you covered in that for that as well. But
awesome.
Beyond that, I think you pretty much spoke about all the products that are on the system chart. No?
Awesome.
We got nothing.
All right. Well,
I
just asked,
right
just saw that one.
Could you please show a slide at the beginning of your setup with walking sticks? Yes.
Yep. Here it is.
That's the one. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks for asking that. This is the walking sticks, me using the walking sticks on the left, and then everything built out on the right. And I'll walk through how I did it. First, I took the tops off of the walking sticks, and that reveals, I'll just draw it out here. At the top of the walking sticks are the threaded areas, the steel threads, where you would screw it into the basic pod. And then I had, go ahead, Martin.
The upper two sections of the walking sticks are made out of carbon fiber, and the lower sections are made out of aluminum. Maybe that's important for some of you.
Aluminum and carbon fiber. Yes, they're super light. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got to say these handles are really, really comfortable. I did 1,500 feet in elevation that day. I had a lot of. Sometimes you're putting your hands on top of the walking sticks, and sometimes you're gripping them, and depending on whether you're descending or ascending, and it's really wonderful.
Well, by the way, these walking sticks are made by Comperdel. You mentioned that earlier. Comperdel is an Austrian company, so these are not made in Germany, but the Austrians know how to make good walking sticks and hiking poles and skiing poles. So that is.
I hear they have mountains there.
They are located right in the Alps, so they use a lot of walking sticks.
Yes, they do. Yeah. The part that I circled here up top, this is the extra tripod part that I brought with me, and that includes the one tripod leg and the basic pod and the ball 30. And then, of course, the quick release. That's optional for you guys. For me, a quick release is just absolutely necessary every time. And that's it assembled with a camera on it. Thanks for asking that, Matthew. Good name, by the way. And there's everything put together. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, that's a good time. Or we're now at 43 minutes and 22 seconds.
All right, there's another question coming in. Could you please show a situation you are using the blue thread adapter? What is it for? The blue thread adapter that's on the systems chart is used to attach, let's say, a gooseneck arm to the side of the Pro 75. Because the little lateral threads that are on the Pro 75 are a little recessed. So there's no way of threading a gooseneck arm right into them. So you need that little adapter in between. And it has, I think it's 3 threads, 3/18, 3/8/16. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Woo-wee. That was a lot of fun.
That was it.
Yeah, it
Thanks,
was.
Matt. That was an awesome presentation.
Thank you so much, Martin. Thanks for all your support over the years. And
My
thanks
pleasure.
for helping me make good decisions, because I wouldn't be here with these collection of options if it weren't for your guidance. So thank you very much.
Well, and have fun in Utah.
I will.
And let us know what you're doing out there on Instagram, as always. Looking forward to seeing a coverage of your journey out west.
Oh, thank you. Yep. So here we go. So again, thank you for everybody who asked questions. We really appreciate that. If you ask questions and we missed it, which I don't think that happened, we will answer by email. If you are watching this on replay and you ask questions, whether it's on YouTube or on BigMarker, we will reply to you. If you see something is out of stock on our website, Pretty soon, we're going to have a feature that has a stock alert notification on the website. But in the meantime, there's a link here in the chat and in the description, and you'll get it by email if you signed up for the webinar, that allows you to let us know if you want a stock alert. And we will be happy to let you know when that stuff comes right back into stock. Thank you so much. Martin, thanks for inviting me to help with this. If you guys want to catch up with the stuff that I do, check it out at nationalparksatnight.com. We teach night photography in wild, beautiful, protected places, and we do photo tours around the world. You can also check out some of my art at matthillart.com. I appreciate it. Feedback is always welcome. And thanks for attending. We're really glad you're here.
Thanks for your time. And thanks for teaching, as always.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing you either online or out there in the field. Have a great day.
See you in the next webinar. Bye.